Welcome to StudyIQ IAS English channel. My name is Shubham Sagar. Today we have to talk about socio-religious reform movement, and this is part 2. That means we have already started talking about socio-religious reform movements, and today we have to talk about different personalities, and these personalities actually they are very important from UPSC perspective, and especially from UPSC perspective, and that too from pre-perspective, and we have to have a look at them, and we have to have a look at them in interesting manner so that when you read about so many personalities all at once, personalities anyway are very important in UPSC pre as well as mains. So let's say you talk about Swami Dayananda Saraswati, Swami Vivekanand, you talk about Jyotirao Phule, you talk about Lokahitavadi. Who is Lokahitavadi? We'll talk about him as well. Then you talk about different organizations. Then you talk about socio-religious reform movements in minorities. Among minorities, let's say Rehnumai Masjid Yasin Sabha, or we talk about Aligarh Muslim movement, or we talk about something else. So again, there are so many facts which are there in this particular lecture. So we'll try to make it as interesting as possible. I will try to use as many stupid jokes as possible so that you can remember these names. Very important names. Multiple questions has been asked earlier in different exams. So we should be knowing about them, Fine, sir. So important leaders and organization. In the previous lecture, which was part 1 of socio-religious reform movements, we have talked about the reasons, causes of social awakening, female issue reforms, etc., etc. So we got the basic gist of socio-religious reform movement. Now we have to look at certain factual information. We have talked about some of them. We'll talk about some more of these leaders. You have to know these leaders. Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Many people believe that he's the first modern man of India. Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Now there are certain things associated with him. He formed Brahmo Sabha. Most of the people know about it. Brahmo Sabha, 1828. Then there will be a contemporary of his, a contemporary rival of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. His name will be Radhakande. We have talked about this particular name in the previous lecture. We'll talk about his contribution now, his organization today. So, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he will establish Brahmo Sabha in 1828. His rival will establish another organization in 1830. His name will be Radhakande. We'll talk about him as well. So, Brahmo Sabha, everybody knows about it. But do you know about Atmiya Sabha? That is a question which is actually important. So we also should know about Atmiya Sabha because it is important sometimes, and you may have seen the question, the patterns also. Sometimes they will give you different names, Atmiya Sabha, Brahmo Sabha, and then let's say some Dharma Sabha or some other organization, Arya Samaj, and then they will tell you to arrange them in the way or chronologically. Like, the first organization which was formed, which that will be in the first in the order, and then the second and the third and the fourth, and so on and so forth. So we have to know these organizations. He wrote Gift to Monotheist. So there are certain attributes. Most of these leaders, and these, people, these reformers, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Dayananda Saraswati, etc. Some of them will be reformists, some of them will be revivalists. We have talked about reformist and revivalism in the previous part. So all these things are fine, but more often than not, you will see that most of these, scholars, reformers, they focus on monotheism. More often than not, even when you talk about Dayananda Saraswati, Arya Samaj, 1875, he established Arya Samaj. These are factual things. We have discussed about it in the previous lecture. Now the question here is, when we'll talk about Dayananda Saraswati, there also you will see that he favored monotheism. So why most of these reformers, they don't prefer polytheism? What is so wrong in polytheism? We have to understand that also. So these are some facts. Facts are fine. We will keep that in mind, but also other points. I'm preparing West Bengal Police Constable this class. Okay, cool Earth. Thank you. So what we are discussing here is Atmiya Sabha established in 1815, and then around 1823-24 he will close this. What is the basic function of Atmiya Sabha? It's very similar to Ibadat Khana of Akbar. We are not comparing Raja Ram Mohan Roy sir with Akbar, but just to make you understand, Atmiya Sabha is very similar to the Ibadat Khana concept of Fatehpur Sikri, where Akbar used to meet with different people, try to understand the purpose of life, purpose of different religion. So here it's also about the free discussion. So Atmiya Sabha free discussion will happen, and around 1823-24 Raja Ram Mohan Roy will close it, and this is the basic purpose. You are talking to yourself. Like, this is a meme when you are talking to yourself. So what is the purpose of life? Free discussion. All these things were promoted in Atmiya Sabha. Who started it? Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Why it is important? Because most of the people will know about Brahmo Sabha. You have to also know about Atmiya Sabha. Also the chronology is important. Which came earlier? Atmiya Sabha or Brahmo Sabha? So all these things are, or all these things rather matter. Fine. So again, you can see here, these things are common. Prayer, meditation, readings of Upanishad. You will see more or less, when we talk about Hindu reform movements, these things will be there. Then the part here is preach monotheism. That is the thing which we have to understand, that why when we talk about Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he is a reformist. We'll talk about Dayanand Saraswati, he is a revivalist. Both of these people, there are certain differences, but they both promote monotheism. Why? What is the issue with polytheism? See, understand one thing. We keep on talking about, different Hindu religious reform movements. We keep on talking about, when we were talking about Buddhism, Jainism, there we have talked about something known as Brahmanical supremacy. Buddhism, Jainism, around 64 heterodox sects emerged as a reaction against Brahmanical supremacy. So what was the reason there? Like Brahmanical supremacy, how this happened, how this Brahmanical supremacy happened? That happened because of too many rituals and sacrifices. And these Brahmin people, they were the ones who knew how to do different rituals and sacrifices. We have talked about Ashwamedha, Vajapeya, Rajasuya and other sacrifices. And there were certain sacrifices which went on for years, not only months. And only certain Brahmins knew about it. So let's say you have a religion which is polytheistic in nature, Hinduism. So you have multiple gods. If you have multiple gods, it's not like every god has uniform method of prayers. So you will have different religious and sacrifices and rituals attached to different gods. So as the number of gods increases, the number of rituals and practices, all these sacrifices will increase, and therefore the Brahmanical supremacy will keep on increasing. So this is one of the reasons why polytheism is opposed by many. There are other reasons also. We keep on talking about a creator who created this universe. So that is one creator. We don't say multiple creators created this universe. So more often than not, we talk about one particular creator, and polytheism contradicts that. So there are multiple reasons why you will see these reformers talking against polytheism, and that is one thing which we have to understand, which we have to know, because you will read all these things but you will never realize, and you should realize, why more often than not these guys are saying things against polytheism. What is so wrong in polytheism? So this is so wrong in polytheism. Too many rituals and sacrifices, many, as the number of gods increases, rituals and sacrifice will increase. Second, you are going against the notion that there is one creator who created this universe, when you are saying that there are multiple gods. Fine, sir. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy combined the teachings of Upanishad. And again here, in the previous lecture, we have talked about religious universalism. So different religion, they have different paths, but more often than not, their destination is same. And he played a crucial role, as I think somebody said in the last lecture, Kritika or Charita. Good evening, Kritika. That he played a crucial role in the passage of Sati. And in the previous lecture, we have talked about it, that Sati was initially introduced in, or it was made a punishable offense in Bengal Presidency in 1829. And then in 1830, it was extended to Bombay and Madras Presidency. And that's why this sir is saying that this whole thing, when somebody is committing a Sati, it is actually a sin. Pap means papi papi, papi chulo. No, pap means sin. Oh my God. Cool. Let's focus. Let's move on. Now here again there are certain factual information. Atmiya Sabha, don't forget it. Hindu college, he formed it and he founded it. But there are multiple people involved in the creation or formation rather of Hindu college. So that's why there is a question mark here. Question mark means Hindu college is not a creation of only Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Other people were also involved along with David Hare and other people as well. So they can give you these information. When they talk about personalities, they will give you 3-4 facts about Raja Ram Mohan Roy. You have to remember as many facts as possible because Raja Ram Mohan Roy is important. So Samvad Comedy, Miratul Akbar. How they can frame a question from these two journals? They can give you Samvad Comedy, they can give you Miratul Akbar, and they will change the language. They will say that Samvad Comedy is Persian journal and Miratul Akbar is Bengali journal. So these are the things which you have to keep in mind from UPSC pre-2025 perspective. First modern man of India. Pratna Samaj. We are talking about different leaders, important leaders and organization. Pratna Samaj is important organization. And when we are talking about it, please pay attention to the word, what is written here. In 1867, Keshab Chandra Sen helped found the Pratna Samaj in Bombay. So there is a question mark again here. What is the meaning here is, I'm saying he helped formed. He is one of the most popular leader of Pratna Samaj. He was earlier a part of Brahmo Sabha, Brahmo Samaj, and then later he formed. He is not the one who formed, he helped formed. The actual founder of Pratna Samaj is Atmaram Pandurang. And there will be more such confusing points which you have to keep in mind. Atmaram Pandurang, he is supposed to be the founder of Pratna Samaj. He is the founder, and Keshav Chandra Sen helped him establish this Pratna Samaj. Similar kind of thing you will see when we will talk about Sri Narayan Dharm Paripalan Yogam. And many people feel like Sri Narayan Dharm Paripalan Yogam was established by Sri Narayan Guru. That is not the actual reality. Padmanabhan Palpu, he formed Sri Narayan Dharm Paripalan Yogam, and with the, like, his guru was Sri Narayan Guru. So there are certain small facts which we have to keep in mind. So Pratna Samaj, Keshav Chandra Sen, very important member. And why Honorable Modi sir is saying that there is hypocrisy involved here? Because when you will see the basic attributes associated with Pratna Samaj, so one of the basic attribute is this: raising the age of marriage for both males and females, along with other points which you can see. M.G. Ranade, R.G. Bhandarkar, they will later become the member of this Pratna Samaj and it will become more popular. M.G. Ranade is one person who is also involved in the formation of something known as Indian National Social Conference, which we have talked about yesterday, which was an organization formed by INC because they did not want to deal with the sensitive issues like, religion, etc. So M.G. Ranade was the founder of Indian National Social Conference also. We'll talk about him later on. Please understand one thing. Pratna Samaj, one of the major attributes, raising the age of marriage for both male and female, and one of the most popular leader, Keshav Chandra Sen. Tushar Ekatpure. Yes, sir. So, Tushar, I think you people are not watching my videos in entirety. I don't know what is happening. Every lecture at the end, I keep on telling that there is a Telegram group, Fun Study with Shubh. I keep on uploading the PDFs there. Apart from that, there is a link also that will be also, like, there also you will get the PDF. But up until, this is lecture 35, up until lecture 34, I have uploaded every PDF here. Fun Study with Shubh in this Telegram channel. So you can join it and you can get the PDFs. Fine. So, yes, sir, what we were talking about. So, we are talking about certain things associated with Pratna Samaj and what is the hypocrisy involved here in Pratna Samaj. The hypocrisy involved here is Keshav Chandra Sen, who is one of the most prominent member of Pratna Samaj. He himself married his very young daughter to a very, very old man when he's talking about raising the age of marriage for both male and female. And that's why people went against him. They were like, dude, you are talking about or talking against child marriage and you yourself married your, very young daughter who is still a child to a very old guy, maybe because of Kulinism. Again, we have talked about Kulinism in the first part of socio-religious reform movement. What is the basic concept of Kulinism? Cool. So let's continue the discussion. Please remember this, and that's why Honorable Modi sir is saying that there is a limit to hypocrisy, bro. Okay. Henry Vivian de Rosio, Young Bengal movement, we have talked a little about him earlier, that he died at a very early age of 22, 23, but he inspired a lot of people. He became a professor, a lecturer, whatever you want to call it, at a very early age, inspired a lot of Bengali people to ask questions. Don't they take things at face value, bro. Ask questions. If you feel like there is something wrong which is happening, or something going against the notion of rationalism or humanism. Again, what is rationalism, humanism? We have talked about it in the first part. So do watch the first part once you're done with this part. And see, understand one thing, even today, people don't like when you question them. Doesn't matter whether it's your father or mother or anybody else, nobody likes this questioning thing, that you keep on questioning them one way or the other. So at that time also they felt a lot of issues and many people did not like de Rosians and his Young Bengal movement, but later on it played a crucial role in igniting this Bengal Renaissance. So Surendranath Banerjee, about whom you will read a lot, he's one of the very most important personalities, and before INC was created, his organization was one of the premier organization when you talk about arousing national consciousness. So we'll talk about Surendranath Banerjee, what he did and how he did what he did. So he said this about de Rosians, pioneers of modern civilization of Bengal. They can ask you this question in multiple ways. Who said that de Rosians were the pioneers of modern civilization of Bengal? Or they can ask you this, Surendranath Banerjee described whom as the pioneers of modern civilization of Bengal. So in different ways they can ask you question from here. Please keep this in mind. This is actually very important. Exactly. Still it prevails in Bengal. Very good, Kritika. So let's move on, sir and ma'am. Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. About him also we have discussed. He played a crucial role in the establishment of Bethune School, which became Bethune College, which still is Asia's, oldest female college. And he himself started so many schools, and that's why Vidyasagar name was added at the end. It was not like his name was Vidyasagar. Just like it's not like my title is Sagar, Shubham Sagar. My actual title is Pathak, but I don't use that title. So similarly, his actual title is not Vidyasagar. He was given this designation title because of the work which he did. He opened Sanskrit school to or college to non-Brahmins, and he is saying that we have to be open-minded, bro. Again, we have talked about him. You can read all these facts. And we'll talk something more. Widow Remarriage Act. Yesterday, or I think on Saturday, we had a discussion regarding this Widow Remarriage Act that we have to be very, very aware about. Widow Remarriage Act thing, we'll talk about it. So, Widow Remarriage Act was passed during the tenure of which Governor General? What have we discussed earlier? Who was the Governor General when Widow Remarriage Act was passed? What have we discussed earlier? I will give you 20 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14 and then 20. So, Widow Remarriage Act was passed during the tenure of Lord Canning. Widow Remarriage Bill was associated during the tenure of Lord Dalhousie, but it was passed during the tenure of Lord Canning. Lord Canning Ishan. So, keep this in mind. This is actually important. Fine, sir. Jyotirao Phule, Jyotiba Phule. So, you have Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra community, untouchable community, you know. So, there are people who are reacting against this so-called Varna system, caste system and all those things, Brahmanical supremacy. And later on, this lower caste people, so-called lower caste people, he belonged to a Mali community. He will establish a Satyasodhak Samaj, where he will talk about fighting against the caste system, you know, ending this whole caste system thing. So, Jyotirao Phule and his wife, Savitribai Phule. Savitribai Phule. Maharashtra region, they established something known as Satyasodhak Samaj. That is actually awesome. You may have heard about Satyasodhak Samaj, and here they are talking about, you know, they are opening schools so that even people from lower caste, they can study there. All these things happen. 1873, do keep in mind, like, keep a tab on all these things. Arya Samaj, 1875. We'll talk about Ramakrishna Mission today, 1897. And now here, Satyasodhak Samaj, 1873. If UPSC has to make a tough question, Lord Dalhousie, not Dalhousie, Lord Canning Tushar. So what we are discussing here, they can always make a question on the chronology part. So this one part, Satyasodhak Samaj, most of the people, they know about it. Keep a tab on the dates. Then the next question, which is actually very important from exam perspective, is he is also associated with writing a particular book. He wrote a book called Sarvajanik Satyadharma. That is fine. But his another book which is very popular is Gulamgiri. And we have to remember, see, in this lecture you will, you know, read about or listen about a lot of leaders and organizations. So at some portion it may become boring, but we have to keep it as interesting as possible. And you have to remember certain things which are important from exam perspective. So sir, when we are talking about Jyotirao Phule, Jyotiba Phule, and we are talking about Gulamgiri, his Gulamgiri book, just remove this H, is very popular. Because in this particular book, Gulamgiri, they can ask you, Gulamgiri was written by whom? UPSC anyway like to ask about books. So they can ask you, Gulamgiri, Jyotirao Phule, why it is very popular? It is very popular because he compared the status of lower caste to the black people of America. He is like, the people, like the lower caste people in India, their condition is comparable to the black people in America. And that's why Gulamgiri book became very popular. And you have to remember, Sarvajanik Satyadharma and Gulamgiri, these are the books. Satyasodhak Samaj associated with Jyotiba Phule, more often than not, everybody knows about it. Dates people don't remember, date is important. Plus this Gulamgiri book, because NCERT talks about it. And because here he compared the status of lower caste people to, you know, the black people. That's why it is important. So these are some small, like, you know, important facts which we have to keep in mind. Swami Vivekananda and the Ramakrishna Mission. So here, in like when you talk about Astic schools, you talk about, you know, Vedanta philosophy. So Ramakrishna Paramhans, who was the guru of Swami Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramhans, he kept on talking about the Vedanta philosophy, and that too, the Advaita Vedanta philosophy of Sankaracharya. Advaita Vedanta philosophy of Sankaracharya. So Advaita Vedanta philosophy of Sankaracharya, what it talks about, when you talk like this Advaita etc., it feels very tough, it looks tough, it sounds tough, but it is actually not that tough. Advaita is non-duality. when you talk about Bhakti movement, you hear two terms a lot. One term is Atman, other term is Brahman. Atman is individual soul, my soul. Brahman is universal soul. Many people believe it to be the soul of God, Paramatma's soul. So this Advaita philosophy of Shankaracharya, which was popularized by Swami Vivekananda, and it is still practiced in Ramakrishna Mission, which was established in 1897 in Belur Mutt, that is in Bengal. All these dates are important. What this philosophy talks about, they say that Atman is a part of Brahman. So Atman is my soul, Brahman is universal soul or God's soul. So Atman is a part of Brahman. That means my soul is a part of like Brahman souls or universal soul or God's soul. That means I am a part of God. In simple terms, you can understand it like this. I am a creation of God. I am a part of God. God resides within me. And that's why Swami Vivekananda sir says, and Ramakrishna Mission's one of the mottos of Ramakrishna Mission is service of Jiva is worship of Shiva. If you are helping a needy human being, you are actually worshipping Shiva. You don't need to go to temples and do this and that, take dips in holy water and all those stuff. Help a needy human being and you are actually praying to God. So these are the things which you have to keep in mind. Fine, sir. So first of all, we have to talk about Ramakrishna Paramhans. He became very popular. He talked about Advaita philosophy. He simplified it and used the common language, and that made him dearer to people. So his aim was twofold. Like when we talk about Ramakrishna Paramhans, who was the guru of Swami Vivekananda, his, when we talk about the purpose, the objective of Swami Ramakrishna Paramhans, that was two. One, to create a group of monks who will go here and there and spread the teaching. Second, to create a group of disciples who will look upon all men, women and children as equals, that we are all God's creation. There is no difference between, any one of, all of us are equal, irrespective of our caste, creed, color, anything. We are all equal, and that's what we have to understand in today's hypercharged environment as well, that everybody is equal. People will try to divide us on the basis of religion, and now people are trying to divide us on the basis of language, but we have to ensure we are not getting divided any way or the other. We have to stay united come what may. Different entities will come and go, but we have to stay united. Fine. So again, two objectives of Ramakrishna Mission or Ramakrishna Paramhans, that is to create a band of monks who will dedicate their life to renunciation and practical spirituality, and to create a group of disciples. And these disciple thing, the second objective of Ramakrishna movement or Ramakrishna Paramhans objective will be taken up by Swami Vivekananda. Again, these are all bol bachan. Whatever you want to remember, remember it. The most important part is when we talk about Swami Vivekananda, when we talk about Ramakrishna Mission, when we talk about Ramakrishna Paramhans, what did they talk about? In if you have to summarize it in one word, Advaita philosophy of Shankaracharya. They promoted that. Their concept in one line is service of Jiva is worship of Shiva. Ramakrishna Mission promotes that particular objective. When was Ramakrishna Mission established? 1897. Where was it established? Belur Mutt. Where is Belur Mutt? In Kolkata. So these are the points which we have to keep in mind. Fine, sir and ma'am. And that's what they are saying. Krishna, Hari, Ram, Christ, Allah are different names for the same God. And again, this is religious universalism. One attribute or one aspect of religious universalism. Okay, sir. Now, Swami Vivekananda, and we are talking about him, bridge the gulf between Paramarth and Vyavhar. So sometimes what we are trying to do here is we do service differently and behavior differently. I will tell you what does it mean. So there is a specific time for us, like 1 hour time in the morning or in the evening, when we'll do our prayer and puja and all those stuff. And then other works will be done differently. They are saying that, and Ramakrishna Mission is saying that, why are you doing like that? Every minute of your 24 hours, keep in mind that you're not doing anything, like you're helping others in some way or the other, or try to help others as much as possible. That is your worship, because the basic concept is service of Jiva is worship of Shiva. So there should not be any gulf between this service and behavior time. Just keep a tab on what you are doing and do it with pure intention. Like when we were talking about Buddhism, in Buddhism there was a concept which you may remember, or which you may have an idea about, where we have talked about that it's not only about karma that matters. Karma is fine, but the intention behind your karma also matters. So similar to that is this particular mission. Again, you can read all these things. There are certain things which are important. The dates are important because we are talking like mainly from the pre-perspective. So different dates. When was Arya Samaj established? When was Satyasodhak Samaj established? When was Ramakrishna Mission established? Where was it established? And then Swami Vivekananda, when did he go to USA, Chicago, to participate in Parliament of Religions? That is important. These dates are very important. Chronologically, I will show you one particular PYQ where you'll see UPSC ask questions based on chronology. So these dates become very, very, very important. So again here, like when you talk about Bhakti movement, and we have talked about Bhakti movement, Sufi movement, many people believe that Bhakti movement in a way revitalized Hinduism. Many people feel the same about this Parliament of Religion conference when Swami Vivekananda sir, went there and he talked about Hinduism. So many people even attribute that this was again a revitalization of Hinduism. A new birth was given to Hinduism, right? Even I believe in the same. Very nice, Kritika. So what we are talking about here is and now you see when you talk about Hinduism, you see everybody or most of the people know about International Yoga Day. Many of them, like yoga is one of the 6 astic schools of Hinduism. Many people talk about whether to celebrate yoga or not, whether you are a Muslim or Christian, whether we should adopt the yogic philosophy in our life or not, because yoga is one of the 6 astic schools of Hinduism. So it is a part of Hinduism. But now it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or anybody else. International Yoga Day is celebrated all throughout the world. So this thing is important, and people have started, like Julia Roberts, there is a Hollywood actress. She, I think, embraced Hinduism or embraced certain attributes of Hinduism. So this whole thing where people worldwide, it's not like people did not know about Hinduism earlier, but Swami Vivekananda, a lot of credit goes to Swami Vivekananda when he popularized Hinduism a lot in the West. We are talking about USA and all those regions, North America region. He popularized Hinduism, and this Parliament of Religion is one of the key attributes when you talk about revitalization of Hinduism in late 19th century. Okay, so please remember these dates. If you can, you want to forget the other jibber jabber, you can forget it. When did he go to Parliament of Religion? He talked about Hinduism. He talked about Advaita philosophy. He popularized Hinduism in North America. Cool. So again, this thing we have discussed. Ramakrishna Mission at Belur in Havada in 1897. Many people confuse Belur with some other region. Don't do that. Remember these dates. These dates are important. They can give, let me give you it right, give you right now only. Different organizations. Let's say I give you Arya Samaj. I give you Satyasodhak Samaj. Satyasodhak Samaj. And I give you Ramakrishna Mission. Arrange them in chronological order. I will give you 40 seconds for it. So you have Arya Samaj, you have Satyasodhak Samaj, you have Ramakrishna Mission. If I'm asking you arrange them in chronological order, what will be the correct order? Chepandis, Chepu, Telsu, Ledu, Kadu. That means, do tell me. Okay, so let me start the timer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 16, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we have seen just all these Arya Samaj, Satyasodhak Samaj and Ramakrishna Mission. Satyasodhak Samaj around 1873, Arya Samaj 1875, Ramakrishna Mission, you can see the date here, 1897. So this is the order 2, 1, 3. Please keep these, Samaj and their formation year in your mind. They are important. They have been asked a lot, sir and ma'am. So service of Jiva is the worship of Shiva in one line. This is the motto of Ramakrishna Mission. You have to remember it. Very good. Swami Dayanand Saraswati and Arya Samaj. We were talking about Brahmo Samaj. That was a reformist movement that Hinduism had to adapt according to the changes and needs of the society. Kritika has written Satyasodhak Samaj, Arya Samaj and Ramakrishna Mission. Very good, Kritika. So Arya Samaj is a revivalist movement which talks about go back to the Vedas. Whatever has been written in Veda, they are the Saswat truth. They are the actual realities and we have to follow the tenets of Veda. So they had 10 guiding principles. Krinvanto Vishwa Aryam or Krinvanto Vishwam Aryam. You don't have to remember all the 10 guiding principles of Arya Samaj, Krinvanto Vishwam Aryam. So there are different attributes, like you have to follow the teachings of Veda. One very interesting guiding principle in Krinvanto Vishwamaryam is that be ready. Sometimes what happens na, your father will know whatever you are saying is very rational in nature, and your mother will know, but they will not accept it. They will become very rigid. People generally become rigid in certain scenarios, that no, whatever I know is the actual truth. So Krinvanto Vishwamaryam, which is like the 10 guiding principles of Arya Samaj, they say that, bro, accept your faults. Be ready to accept new realities, new truth, and be a little open-minded. This is one of the 10 guiding principles of Krinvanto Vishwamaryam. Back to the Vedas, revivalist movement formed in 1875. Remember the dates. Dates are important. Jai Hind Akshayt. Jai Hind. Okay, so let's continue the discussion. Again, you will see all these things. See here. And this is the common thing which we are discussing. When we were talking about Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who was a reformist, he was also talking about or talking against adultery, polytheism. And when we are talking about Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Arya Samaj, revivalist movement, here also he is attacking polytheism. And we have talked about the reasons why different reformers with different intentions had some common aims. So this attack on polytheism is common, like associated with both Swami Dayanand Saraswati and Raja Ram Mohan Roy. And we have talked about why people criticize polytheism. Okay, sir, you can read all these things. And there is another book associated with Swami Dayanand Saraswati, one very famous book, that is Satyat Prakash, which you have to remember. Arya Samaj revivalist movement, back to the Vedas. So later on what will happen, they will start something known as Shuddhi movement, purification movement. They can give you this. Shuddhi movement is associated with, and then they will give you different options. Arya Samaj, Ramakrishna Mission, this and that. So you have to remember, Shuddhi movement is associated with what? Shuddhi movement is associated with the Arya Samaj, where let's say you have converted or you have adopted religion like Christianity or Islam, you can come back to Hinduism. So that is Shuddhi movement. But many people say that it promoted communalism to a certain extent, because anyway, around 1920s, 1930s, 1906 Muslim League was established. 1920 there was a leader called Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and in around 1916 Congress session, Sarojini Naidu called him as the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. But in 1920 he will leave Congress, he will join Muslim League, and Muslim League will become more and more communal. Around 1935-36 provincial elections will happen. Around that period, Muslim League will fare very badly. Jinnah is leading them now, and he will become more communal. He's like, Hindus and Muslims cannot coexist. Today I made a video on Gujarat rights, which you will see at 9 p.m. There I have talked about the attributes of communalism. So you can read more about it, because communalism is in GS paper 1 main syllabus. You have to understand there are 3 basic terms or meanings associated with communalism. What are those 3 meanings? You can watch that in the video. You will understand that. Fine. So Shuddhi movement, many people say that it increased communalization, which was already there in 1920s. And Hindu Mahasabha and all those organizations were also coming up with their own ideologies. So yeah, Shuddhi movement associated with whom? Arya Samaj. Satyat Prakash associated with whom? Dayanand Saraswati. So these are the points which we have to keep in mind. Very good. Now let's talk about this question. I don't expect you people to solve this question. Why? Because we have not talked about Neel Darpan. We have not talked about Anand Math. We have not talked about Satyendranath Tagore. We'll talk about them later on, because we have just started modern history. So these people will come again and again. But I just want to give you an idea that UPSC do ask questions based on chronology. So you have to remember the dates. But even if I give you this question just to try it out and try to solve it, what will be your answer of this particular question? A. Which of the following events happened earliest? Swami Dayanand established Arya Samaj. Deenbandhu Mitra wrote Neel Darpan. Bankim Chand Chattopadhyay wrote Anand Math. Oh my God, Dark has given the answer. Dark is so bright as a student. So Satyendranath Tagore became the first Indian to succeed in Indian civil service exam. Swami Dayanand Saraswati established Arya Samaj in 1875. Right. Deenbandhu Mitra wrote Neel Darpan around 1858-59. We'll talk about Neel Darpan Indigo Revolt. Bankim Chand Chattopadhyay wrote Anand Math based on Sannyasi rebellion around 1882. Satyendranath Tagore became the first Indian to succeed in ICS around 1862-63. So if you see the chronology, and you have to make a note of it. We'll talk about these personalities later on also. But once you solve PYQs, you realize that, oh, Neer Darpan is important. Oh, Anand Math is important. So here the answer is B, as stated by Dark Prashant. Cool. Awesome. Let's continue the discussion. So we are talking about socio-religious reform movements. We have talked about important personalities, important leaders. Let's talk about caste movements now. Then we will go to socio-religious reform movements in among minorities. So you have 6 minorities in India. And you have to know these minorities. So you have minorities at state level also, at central level also. And we are talking about minorities at central level, 6 minorities. So who are those 6 minorities? Muslim, they are the largest minority. Then you have Christians. Remember these 6 minorities, they are important. Then you have Parsis, who follow Zoroastrianism, who is one of the most influential or most economically sound minorities. Jains, Buddhist. Whom have we left? Any particular community whom have we left? Sikh. So 6 minorities in India. There was a committee which published a report. That committee's name was Sachar Committee. You can Google it, you can know more about it. Sachar Committee. According to Sachar Committee report, the condition of Muslims in India is worse than SC and STs. You know, the representation of Muslims in, let's say, IAS, IPS, IRS, IFS. You can Google it. You can read more about Sachar Committee. If you have any issues with Sachar Committee, you can post it in the comment section. So sometimes all these things, you know, this condition, the economic and your social condition also promotes alienation, also promotes communalization to a certain extent. So we have to remember, and this is important, they can ask you such a committee is associated with what. Fine, sir. So we'll talk about these minorities and their socio-religious reform movements. So now currently we are focused on the caste movement, which was very pronounced in South India. Like we have discussed earlier, what happened? Like North India, you have Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. In South India, during Sangam age, you had horizontal division of society based on which category of land you were associated with. Kurinchi, Mulai, Marudam, Niyadal, Palai. You can read and watch Sangam age video to know more about it. Later on, in Southern India, you also had this categorization. They also went through this division, that is Brahmins and non-Brahmins. So they also had vertical division, Brahmins and non-Brahmins. And in these non-Brahmin people, further divisions happened, and there came a period when the lower caste people in the non-Brahmin category, forget about entering temples, they were not even allowed to enter the roads which were going towards those temples. And that will lead to something known as temple entry movement, Vaikom Satyagraha, then self-respect movement, we'll talk about that. So this Aravipura movement is again caste movement, that lower caste people, consecration of gods or installation of gods and their statues and images is not the sole right, or it cannot only be done by, it's not a monopoly of only Brahmins, and that was done by Sri Narayan Guru, whom many people in Kerala, he was from Ijjava community. Ijjavas are toddy tappers. What are toddy tappers? In our language, we say tadi nikalna. Tadi is just kind of a, you know, maybe a wine, I don't know. So toddy tapper, Ijjava community, lower caste community, who belongs in the non-Brahmin bracket, and in that non-Brahmin bracket also very lower category. So, and this caste movement, you will see it's very pronounced in the Travancore region of Kerala and in certain portions of Mysore. So in southern India, you will see this caste movement and on a very wider scale. So Sri Narayan Guru, associated with Kerala, belonged to Ijjava community, Aravipura movement around 1800s. Then there is Sri Narayan Dharm Pariparan Yoga, and this movement started in the early 1900s. Please remember the chronology also. They can give you this Aravipura movement, they can give you the Sri Narayan Dharm Paripalan Yogam. Again, they can ask you that on the basis of when it was formed, arrange them. Sri Narayan Dharm Paripalan Yogam, what is the biggest issue most of the people face or biggest misconception people have about Sri Narayan Dharm Paripalan Yogam is, it was started by Sri Narayan Guru. Because the name is such, Sri Narayan Dharm Paripalan Yogam. Please understand this. Sri Narayan Dharm Paripalan Yogam was started by Padmanabhan Palpu around 1904. You can check the date. And Padmanabhan Palpu, he was, I think, a doctor or something. You can check that also. Padmanabhan Palpu, he was a disciple of Sri Narayan Guru. So Sri Narayan Guru was like, bro, you have my well wishes, start this Sri Narayan Dharm Paripalan Yogam. So don't go by the name. The founder is Padmanabhan Palpu. You have to remember this. This is the tricky part. Again, Ijjavas, who are the toddy tappers, you can see who are toddy tappers. They are the ones who will go and reach up the higher heights of this tree and extract the toddy and all those stuff. which they will use to make wine and other stuff. Cool. And they were considered to be untouchable. So this caste movement you will see a lot in southern India, especially in the Travancore region. Do remember Aravipuda movement associated with whom? Sri Narayan Guru, Sri Narayan Dharma Paripalan Yogam, who is the real founder? Padmanabhan Palpu. So these are important facts which we cannot miss. Then temple entry movement, one of the most important movements which we have to keep in mind. Why? Why? Because 100 years have been completed. This movement originated around 1924-25. Currently, we are in 2025. So one of the most, like high yielding area, we say, very high probability of question being asked is this temple entry movement. So, and this especially Vaikom Satyagraha. So you have to remember it. Vaikom Satyagraha started by whom? T.K. Madhavan, K.K. Lappan, K.V. Keshwa. Gandhiji also participated in it, and it will be in use in current affairs also. So you have to keep a track of this Vaikom Satyagraha. What is this Vaikom Satyagraha? I've already told you. Caste system, this whole thing was so prominent, became so prominent in South that lower caste people forget about entering temples. Even the roads which were going to that temple, they were closed for them. So initially, they started this movement, they started going on these roads, people from lower caste. Police will come and they will, arrest these guys. They will come in more numbers. Then some of the roads were open to the lower caste people. And slowly and gradually in 1930, some of the temples were opened. Not only in Travancore, Kerala region, but even in the Tamil Nadu region. So this is temple entry movement, Vaikom Satyagraha. Remember the name, remember the important leaders. Gandhiji again later on came. Many people say that, and again that's a debatable point which I'm going to make now, that he, instead of improving the matter, he did something which in a way deteriorated the whole condition. We'll not go there. You can read more about Gandhiji's contribution or so-called non-contribution to Vaikom Satyagraha. But the actual leaders were T.K. Madhavan, K.K. Lappan and K.P. Keshwa. I am a big fan of Gandhiji, so please don't kill me in the comment section just because what I said. So, okay. So please remember Vaikom Satyagraha 1924. And this was also a time period where Gandhiji was relatively free. When we'll talk about non-cooperation movement, you will see that was being called off, and many people were very not so happy with Gandhiji and his calling off of non-cooperation movement because of Chauri Chaura incident. So I don't know what Gandhiji wanted to do with this Vaikom Satyagraha, but he did not help matter. Many people became so disillusioned with Gandhiji's intervention here that they left Congress. E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, Periyar, who will start the self-respect movement, he is one of them who became disillusioned with Gandhiji's partition, who did not like what Gandhiji did. So again, we'll talk about that. C. Rajagopalachari sir came. Basically, this Vaikom Satyagraha, you can also understand it. It's not just about temple entry. That's a symbolic gesture. It's a reaction of lower caste or non-Brahmins against the Brahmins, which will further go down the path of self-respect movement, the Dravidian movement. The current DMK or the AIDMK party, which you are seeing in Tamil Nadu, they emerged out of this fight of non-Brahmins against the Brahmins. And Vaikom Satyagraha is one aspect of it. So in a way, you can also understand Vaikom Satyagraha as a reaction of non-Brahmins against Brahmins. And when you are bringing Brahman like C. Rajagopalachari in Vaikom Satyagraha, obviously people will not be happy. Because we are in a way reacting against you. You people have made temples monopoly of yours. And you are not even, forget about entering temples, you are not even allowing us to enter the roads which are leading down to those particular temples. So it's a much... Yeah, I'm speaking only English, Karthik. I don't think I have spoken anything else. So yes, sir, what I'm trying to say here is that this was a much bigger movement with much bigger connotation. Vaikom Satyagraha, very important. 100 years completed. Keep a tab on every news which comes related to Vaikom Satyagraha. Very, very important from exam perspective. Okay, sir, caste movement, this is what we were discussing. That finally the efforts of, Vaikom Satyagraha yielded result. And in 1930s, you will see Travancore Kingdom, C. Rajagopalachari, all these people will be allowing temple entry to lower caste. Fine. So let's continue the discussion. Remember the Vaikom Satyagraha, very important. I'm reiterating it again and again. It's 100 years has just been completed. So keep a tab on Vaikom Satyagraha, temple entry movement. Self-respect movement. So what is the self-respect movement? Again, reaction of non-Brahmins against Brahmins. If you look at South Indian history and if you look at the Tamil Nadu region, the Karnataka region, you will realize that this movement is emerging. Why? Because the top post, if you look at IAS, IPS and all those, most of these top posts were acquired by the so-called Brahmins. And non-Brahmins people felt like their participation in different administrative spheres, be it government jobs or education or different arena, it's lower compared to the Brahmins. And that's how this self-respect movement emerged. And again, the parties which we are talking about, DMK, AIDMK, they emerged from the self-respect movement or the justice movement or the Dravidian movement. All these things you have to keep in mind. Fine. So S. Ramanathan, he established self-respect movement, and one of the important personalities associated with self-respect movement is E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, who is also known as Periyar. And many people again believe that E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, he founded self-respect movement, but the reality is S. Ramanathan, he founded it, and E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar Periyar was an important, was the one who actually popularized self-respect movement. And that is what is written here. You can have a look at this. He sought to undermine the position of Brahmin priest by formalizing weddings without Brahmin priest. It's a reaction. It's a battle between non-Brahmins and Brahmins. It's a battle between, again, I have just told you everything. Other reform organizations, and there will be some names which will be important. Theosophical Society, yesterday we have talked about it. The more or less, the basic objectives are all same, but different. They will just change the words: universal brotherhood, no distinction, we will not discriminate people on the basis of caste, color, creed, etc. All these things you are seeing, and it's not like self-respect movement is saying something entirely different. They are also saying that, bro, whatever respect, whatever posts are being given to Brahmins, similar posts are deserved by non-Brahmins as well. And we want more representation of non-Brahmins at higher posts. So again, there is somewhat like difference which you can see from Theosophical Society and other. There is a very specific movement aimed against specific people, but more or less all these people, even self-respect movement will talk about that we should not discriminate people. We should not discriminate Brahmins from non-Brahmins, and there should be equality. Similar kind of things have been promoted here. That is fine. The important point is we have solved a question yesterday that Theosophical Society established in USA, Blavatsky and Alcott. Annie Besant is not the founder, because Annie Besant popularized this Theosophical Society in India. Many people believe she is the founder. She is not the founder. She is the one who made Theosophical Society popular. First established in US, 1875, 7 years after established in Madras, Adyar. So this is important. These kind of questions has been asked earlier. Annie Besant popularized it. Annie Besant is also involved with formation of BHU. See, personalities are important, and these personalities will come again. Annie Besant will come again because she is the first woman president of INC. And she is also involved in the formation of BHU. What does BHU stands for? Any idea? BHU? BHU. As Dark is saying, Banaras Hindu University. Madan Mohan Malviya, who was, you will hear him as Mahamana, he is Bharat Ratna, and he was the one who represented Gandhiji during the Pune Pact. We'll talk about it. So Madan Mohan Malviya, Annie Besant, among other people, were involved with the formation of BHU, Banaras Hindu University. Remember it? Again, these kind of questions has been asked a lot earlier. So this is the point which are written. We have discussed all these things. You can have a look at it. Now, other reform organization, Indian Social Conference. 1885, Indian National Congress was formed. 2 years after, Indian Social Conference was formed, because Indian National Congress was very wary of the sensitive nature of the people. They did not want to take issues related to religion. So they created another organization known as Indian Social Conference. Founder was M.G. Ranade and Raghunath Rao. They met at the same time when INC used to meet, but they were formed 2 years after. That is the point which you have to remember. This also we have discussed earlier. So Kritika and Khushi, they have also written BHU. Very good, yaar. So where were we? Let's move on. So again, this is a point which is written. We have discussed about this here. We have discussed it in the part 1 as well. Why Indian Social Conference was formed? What was the reason? Now see, understand one thing. When you will see your UPSC main syllabus in GS paper 2, you will read topic like NGO and SHG. You know, NGO, non-governmental organization, SHG, self-help groups. So one of the earliest NGOs which was formed in India, That is Servants of India Society, established by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Servant of India Society, please remember this. And Gopal Krishna Gokhale is also the political guru of Gandhiji. So when you read about personalities, that's how you, and he is one of the important moderates, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. It is said that Britishers wanted to give him the title or give him the knighthood, that we will call you red pill. Yeah. So what we are discussing here is that Britishers wanted to give him the knighthood to Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and he refused it. He was like, dude, people anyway say that we moderates don't criticize you enough. If you give me knighthood and I become Sir Gopal Krishna Gokhale, then maybe I will not be able to criticize you even, like I will be criticizing you even less. I don't want that to happen, and other reasons and justifications was given. He did not accept the knighthood and he remained Gopal Krishna Gokhale. So do remember, they can give you these. Who was the political guru of Gandhiji, or Gopal Krishna Gokhale was offered knighthood but he rejected it. So these are the points which you have to remember. This is the Servants of India Society, one of the earliest NGOs, non-governmental organization. Now tell me one thing, NGOs can be for profit or not for profit. An aim of the society, the Servants of India Society, again, true interest of Indian people, prepare a cadre of selfless workers. Would you rather be selfless or selfish? So, selfless. Now, the question which I asked is NGO. NGOs are for profit or not for profit? We talked about Servants of India Society, one of the earliest NGOs in India, and GS paper 2 mains, NGOs and SHGs we have to study. So, what is SHG? Like, what is NGO? Can they be for profit or not for profit? Or can they be both? Not profit. See, there is a notion, dark, Khushi. So there is a notion which goes around when we talk about non-governmental organization, HelpAge India and all those stuff. So people believe that NGOs are not for profit. NGOs are of two types. And this is your work now. NGOs are of two types, for-profit NGOs and then not-for-profit NGOs. I will give you an example. I was teaching somewhere in the Northeast. So there was an organization which was an NGO, but it was a for-profit NGO and I was working for them. I was teaching there. So NGOs don't go, like most of the people have this, notion that NGOs are not for profit. NGOs can be both. They can be for profit and not for profit. It's just that NGO means non-governmental organization. They have been not established by government, as the basic meaning goes. Now, not-for-profit NGOs, everybody knows, HelpAge India and all those stuff. Your work is to find out for-profit NGOs. Find it. This is interesting because as Dark, Khushi, Kritika, everybody has this confusion. Cool, sir. Let's move on. This is your homework. You have to do it. You can even post it in the comment section. Dharam Sabha, we are talking about other reform organizations. Reform organizations which has not been asked a lot by UPSC, but they can be asked anytime and every time because UPSC is exploring the unexplored areas. So, we have talked about Raja Ram Mohan Roy, one of the biggest adversaries or rivals or contemporary of Raja Ram Mohan Roy was Radhakant Deb, as you can see him here. 1828, Raja Ram Mohan Roy established Brahmo Sabha. 1830, Radhakant Deb established Dharm Sabha. And here he is like, bro, we want status quo. Why would Britishers abolish sati? Who are these guys to interfere in our religious affairs? We will do whatever you want to do, You people, you don't have right to interfere in our affairs. So just shut up and go. So again, please understand, you may feel like, sir, how orthodox this Radhakant Deb is, but his actual basic reality is he just wanted to oppose Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He's a very, very forward-looking guy. When you will read about Radhakant Deb, you will realize that this whole thing where he is opposing or he's trying to maintain status quo, it's actually he's trying to oppose Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Maybe he did not like the popularity which Raja Ram Mohan Roy enjoyed, God knows, but he played a crucial role in girls' education. So he is a man of contradiction. Radhakant Deb, sir, he is a man of contradictions. On one hand, he promoted girls' education. On the other hand, he also supported sati. So again, whatever you want to deduce about him, that's totally up to you. Just remember, Dharm Sabha was established by whom? Radhakant Deb, and when established 1830, even when you will see pre-INC organization, you will see he is involved with so many organizations. That is such an interesting aspect. Like we talk about Indian National Congress, 1885 it was formed. Before that also you had Jamindari Association, this and that, and you will see him involved in so many associations. And the people who were in Brahmo Sabha, that is the organization formed by his rival, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, those guys will be working with Radhakant Deb. So you will realize one thing, nobody is a enemy or a, it's all about situation. Sometimes person who you may feel like he's your enemy, he will become your friend later, and you never know how things change, and that you will understand. And we'll talk about Radhakant Deb, Zamindari Association and all the pre-Congress organization. Fine. But he supported Sati, exactly. But he was a forward-looking guy, in not on the matter of Sati, but in other areas. Fine, sir. So do remember Dharma Sabha. Bharat Dharma Mahamandal. We are talking about organizations which want status quo. So you may feel like these are orthodox organizations like Dharma Sabha 1830. Then there is another organization known as Bharat Dharma Mahamandal, formed in 1887 by, I think, Pandit Deen Dayalu Sharma. So they are also like, we want, orthodox Hinduism. We want a status quo. We don't want Britishers' interference in our affairs. And you can see they are one of their books, The World's Eternal Religion. They're talking about Hinduism. And they're like, we don't like what Arya Samaj is saying. Even, they are saying back to the Vedas and Shuddhi and all those stuff. No, we don't want what Theosophist is saying, universal brotherhood and all those stuff. We don't like what Ramakrishna Mission is saying. We just want our orthodox Hinduism to continue. Bharat Dharma Mahamandal 1887, Pandit Deen Dayalu Sharma. Remember these names. Maybe he swallowed both pills. Oh my God. You are provoking Prashant. Okay, cool. Nice. So Gopal Hari Deshmukh, again these are some names, we have to remember these names, whatever way we can remember it. So Gopal Hari Deshmukh, Lokahitavadi, he was given this title, Lokahitavadi. So he was from a very influential family, and in that family he was like very, very rich people, these like the family which he belonged to. So he wanted to write some stuff, he wanted to attack Hindu orthodoxy, he was not liking stuff, all the stuff which was going on there. So he started writing anonymously in this weekly Prabhakar, and chup chup ke. So there is a word which means that he wanted to disguise himself as something else. Sometimes you see authors taking pen names. So he took some pen name and started writing in the weekly Prabhakar. They can ask you about personalities. They asked, he's the guy who used to write in weekly Prabhakar, and he was from a very influential zamindari family whose father and mothers, they used to take taxes and all those stuff. So they are talking about Gopal Hari Deshmukh, Lokahitavadi. And since he used to do stuff in a disguised manner, that is chup chup ke, that's why we have this meme called chup chup ke. No Hindi, sir. This is just a reference to a movie called Chup Chup Ke, one of the better movies which you can see in Hindi. And he is the best Hindi actor we have, Bollywood actor. His name is Rajpal Yadav. Okay, sir, let's move on. So now let's talk about reform movements among minority people. According to them, anything Britishers did, be it good or bad, was eventually bad. Cool. Muslim reform movements. If you talk about Muslim reform movement, most of the people, they confine themselves to Aligarh movement, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College. But we have to go beyond that. We have to talk about Ahmadiyya movement, Wahhabi movement. Many of these movements, we may have talked a little bit about it. We'll try to talk more about it. See, understand one thing. When you talk about Muslim people, when you talk about Islam, so they are like, they have their Quran, they have their Hadith, they have their Isma and all those stuff. We have talked about these words when we're talking about Sufism, So they are like, no, we don't want Western education. They will radicalize our culture. They will they will worsen our culture, and we want our orthodox teaching to continue. And that's why all these reform movements, they started late. 1863, Mohammedan Literary Society was formed in Calcutta. You will see most of these things originating, social religious reform movements originating from Calcutta, Bengal Renaissance. Nawab Abdul Latif. So remember this name, 1863, Mohammedan Literary Society. And then you will talk about Aligarh movement started by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. When you will read NCERT, you will realize that Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, he had, two contrasting lives. If you again see Bharat Ek Khoj, you will see Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, helping during 1857 revolt. He was the one who advocated Hindu-Muslim unity and all those stuff. Like, great guy till 1860s, 70s. And then something happened in him, something changed. And around 1880s, Britishers started using Sir Syed Ahmad Khan against INC. And he became a little communal, maybe more than little communal. So his life is a life of two contrasting halves. And here we are talking about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. He started Aligarh movement. And this is a reformist movement like Brahmo Samaj. Or Brahmo Sabha. Reformist means, bro, we understand Quran is the ultimate truth. Whatever is there in Quran, that is the voice of Allah. We accept that fact and we are not going against Quran. He did not want to die. Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan, he was like, Quran is the ultimate truth, but we have to also adapt according to society. If we are not adapting or, learning Western education, maybe we'll be left far behind. Hindus will become like I have told you, in the second half of his life he became communal. So that's how he used to influence people, that we have to study, bro, we will be left behind. We are already much far behind, as we have just talked about Sachar committee report, which says that the condition of Muslims in India is worse than SCs and STs. So you can read about Sachar committee. So he was very wary that we have to adapt Western education, and this is reformist movement. He wanted to reconcile Western scientific education with the teachings of Quran. When we are talking about Sufism, we have talked about the difference between Quran, Hadith and all. So you can again read those stuff. So this is a reformist movement. Anglo-Oriental College was established in 1875, Aligarh Muslim University. Most of the people know about this. Another fact which most of the people don't know is this. 1886, 1 year after the establishment of INC, Indian National Congress, he started Mohammedan Educational Conference. And 20 years after this conference was established, something happened. What happened 20 years after? That's how you remember dates. 1875, Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, Aligarh Muslim University, most of the people will remember, sir and ma'am. 1886, Mohammedan Educational Conference, this you have to remember. 20 years after this, Mohammedan Educational Conference was formed, something big happened. When you talk about Islamic society, what big thing happened? 20 years after, I will give you 20 seconds. Chepandis, Chepu Telsu, Ledu Kadu. That means tell me. Okay. So 20 years after Muslim League was formed, ML was formed in 1906. So this is the point which you have to keep in mind. Very good, sir. Deoband School. So Aligarh Muslim, Aligarh Reform Movement, that is fine. Now let's talk about some other organizations, some other reform movements associated with Islam. Post-partition of Bengal, 20 years after, Muslim League established, as Raj Pradyumna is saying. Very good, Raj. So Deoband School, it was formed around in 1860s, this Deoband School. Why it was formed? Because of what happened in 1857. So they were like, no bro, our Muslim people, they are getting influenced by a lot of outside things, external stuff, and they are not following the pure teachings of the Quran. So we have to, this is a revivalist movement, this Deoband School. Revivalist means just like Arya Samaj was saying back to the Vedas. So here they are saying back to the Qurans, bro. Just follow the core teachings of Quran. Don't get influenced by too many external stuff. This Deoband, this Darul Uloom Deoband is around 150 kilometers away from Delhi. 1860s, Deoband School happened, and they are like, we have to spread the core teachings of Quran. Keep the spirit of alive against the foreign rulers. 1857 revolt, and whatever has happened, we were not successful. We did not, we did not throw away, or Britishers are still here, and we have to keep the spirit of jihad alive against these foreign rulers, that is the Britishers. Please remember, the important point here is Deoband School established when? 1860s. Major purpose, revivalist movement to spread the core teachings of Quran. That is the basic thing. Cool. Then Wahhabi and Waliullah movement, like one of the most orthodox reform movements which is there in Islam is Wahhabi and Waliullah movement. Saudi Arab, these guys, they follow Wahhabism. And this is very orthodox. Revivalist, and there is no competition between Wahhabism with any kind of revivalist movement in Islam. Be it, Deoband School or anything else. They are the most, one of the extremist or one of the extreme revivalist movement in Islam. And I think I have given you this example earlier also, that Kashmir, earlier they had Sufi form of Islam. Later on it converted into Wahhabi form of Islam. And when that happened, some people in Kashmir, they became very extreme or extremist adopted extremist agenda, and you know the militancy increased in Kashmir. So this Sufism to Wahhabism happened in Kashmir, and we can see what is happening there now. So there is no question, like everybody can deduce the fact that Wahhabism is a revivalist movement, the most orthodox revivalist movement in Islam. And their function is like the Sikh people in Punjab. If you remember, when we were talking about Sufism, when we were talking about Muhammad Gaudi, we talked about certain people called Khokhar in Punjab who were Hindus and they were converted to Islam by Baba Farid. So Sikh people, they emerged in Punjab and there were Hindu people there also. And many people believe that. And we have also talked about Karamatiyas, those guys who killed Muhammad Gauri. They were Shia and they adopted some tenets from Hinduism, from Sikhism, other people. So now when Sikhism emerged in Punjab, many people converted. Many, you won't believe, but many people who adopted, like who were earlier Muslim, they converted to Sikhism. So initially Wahhabi people were like, or Wahhabism was like, we will fight these Sikh people. And then when Britishers annexed Punjab after Second Anglo-Sikh War, they were like, now we will fight against these Britishers who are actually not, you know, they have not adopted Islam, they are Christians. So all these things they were doing, and they are one of the most extreme form of Islam. You have to remember it. I cannot say anything more about it, because as I keep on saying this, I have to live. But please remember, this Kashmir issue also, Wahhabism point, keep it in mind. Fine, sir. Farezi movement. Now this movement you can compare with Mopala rebellion or Mappilla rebellion of Kerala. What is this? I will tell you, and the things will become much easier to understand, because these movements, they sound very same, but there are certain differences which we have to talk about so that we can remember it in a much better manner. So Mappilla rebellion of Kerala. This rebellion happened a lot, but there is one particular rebellion which happened in 1920s, which coincided with the non-cooperation movement, because of which Mappilla rebellion is very famous. So what happened in Kerala? See, understand one thing. In Kerala, you had three-fold structure of like agrarian structure. You had Janmi, you have Kanamdar, and then you have cultivators. I will make you understand. Please understand this. This is actually important. Then you will be easily understanding Farezi movement also. So there was a threefold structure in Kerala: Janmi, Kanamdar, and cultivators. Janmi, Kanamdar, cultivators. So Janmi were at the top. So they are the guys who had the land. They will give the land to intermediaries called Kanamdar, and then the cultivators or the tenants will be working on these lands. So generally, Janmis in Kerala, they were Hindus. Intermediaries were also mainly Hindus. Cultivators or tenants were Muslims. So this was actually a class conflict. Janmis and when Britishers came, these guys, Britishers, they are of no use. They will go anywhere and everywhere and destroy the whole structure. Earlier, it was not like Janmi were the actual owners and they can remove these cultivators and Kanamdars. So it was a system like it continued. Janmi, they will not remove Kanamdar that easily. They will not remove cultivators that easily. Britishers came, they are like, Janmi, you are the owners of these lands. You can do whatever you want to do with these Kanamdars and cultivators. And now the problem started. Janmis and cultivators, they started, cultivators are like, dude, we are working on this land for 5 years. We are giving you 50% or whatever, and you are removing us at will. We have currently a concept called land to the tiller. Whoever is working on the land will belong to that particular person. So you can understand by that what is the issue here. So Muslim cultivator against Hindu Janmis, that thing started happening in Kerala. That will lead to different rebellions, and that will be given communal nature by people, like different people, that no, this was not a class conflict, this was a religious conflict. Again, we can always debate about it. Similar kind of thing you can see in Bengal happening. It's not happening to that scale which happened in Kerala. You can read, and we'll talk about it later on also, this Mappilla rebellion. But this actually, similar kind of thing happened here in Bengal also, which is known as Farezi movement. So what is happening here? East Bengal aimed at eradication. Again, you can read all these things. The movement became revolutionary from 1850 onwards, and here these Muslim people who are actually the cultivators, they are fighting against the Hindu landlords. So you can say a miniature version of this Mappilla rebellion is this Farezi movement, where the Muslim tenants, they are fighting against the Hindu landlords. That's it. You don't have to do PhD here. Just remember the name, who is the founder, story end. Because there are so many names, there are so many movements. How many you will remember? Mopla rebellion, Mappilla rebellion is very important. That will come again and again. Ahmadiyya movement, one of the most liberal movements in Islam. And many people say that's why it did not survive, or the followers of Ahmadiyya did not survive, because they were too liberal and Many people who are like, no, who belong to Islam, they're like, no, we don't accept too much liberalism. This is actually, you are getting influenced by Hinduism, Sikhism a lot. So Ahmadiyya movement founded by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, liberal principles, standard bearer of, again, you can read all these things. The main concept here is, you can see reformist element a lot in Ahmadiyya movement. Many people, sometimes what happens when we talk about these movements, so many movements, you know, Wahhabi movement and Farezi movement and everything, they will start asking, sir, this is reformist or revivalist? This is reformist or revivalist? See, sometimes what will happen, there will be certain movements which will have both the tenets, reformist and revivalist. But we talk about Brahmo Sabha as reformist, Arya Samaj as revivalist, or Wahhabi movement as revivalist. Why? Because they are tilting more towards the revivalist aspect, that we have to go back to the Vedas, or we have to go back to the original teachings of the Quran. But there is a possibility that there can be a movement which can have both the tenets, both reformist and revivalist tenets. So it's not a either or scenario. Either you have to reformist or revivalist. But yes, Wahhabi is revivalist, Brahmo Sabha or Brahmo Samaj is reformist, Arya Samaj is revivalist. Okay. Now let's talk about some Sikh reform movements. I love Sikh people. They are the cutest people. Oh my God. I was in Punjab, Mohali. Those were some of the best days of my life. Such good, happy, and like when you search for one of the most happiest states in the country, Punjab will be at the top. They're happy. Sometimes there is even no reason why they're happy, but they're happy. And I love that happiness in them. So let's talk about Radha Swami movement, one of the Sikh reform movement. There's a very interesting question which comes. Like the founder is, or the person who found this movement, Tulsi Ram. When you will see him, you will not see him associated with any religion. You see what he's talking about. He's talking about one supreme being, and he's talking about all religion to be true. And again, all these things you're seeing, that you do your work, you do your faith and everything. You don't need to renunciate or, do the renunciation, leave the house, leave the world. No. When he's talking about all these things, the natural question which should come in your mind is, why we are then associating Radha Swami movement as Sikh reform movement? When like he is saying that all religions are true, and again, the paths are different, destination is same, religious universalism. So then why Radha Swami movement we are considering it as a Sikh reform movement? What is the reason for it? What will you say about that? The reason is why we consider Radha Swami movement as Sikh reform movement, because the father of Tulsi Ram or his parents, they belong to Sikh community. So Radha Swami movement is associated as like Sikh reform movement. And generally, when you see Radha Swami movement, you have to have a look at Shahid Kapoor. You have to associate Radha Swami movement with Shahid Kapoor. There's a trick here in this whole image. Hope you can find this trick here. What is the trick? Why we say that when you are talking about Radha Swami movement, you will talk about Shahid Kapoor? Because Shahid Kapoor, if I know it correctly, he found his wife during this one of the meetings of Radha Swami. And when I was in Mohali, sometimes what happens, let's say you have an addiction of wine and all those stuff. So parents will take their kid to Radha Swami and they will sit there and they will pray to God that this addiction goes away. Very, very popular in Punjab area, Radha Swami movement. I also wanted to go there. I did not get the opportunity. So the trick here is, this sir is not Shahid Kapoor. He's somebody else. If you know it, you can post it in the comment section. Haha. So let's move on, bro. Singh Sabha movement. What is the basic purpose of Singh Sabha movement? Again, to make, you can see here, two purpose. First thing first, Western education. Just like we were talking about Aligarh reform movement, they were like, dude, we believe Quran is the ultimate truth, but we have to adopt Western education. We have to imbibe the traits of Western education. Same thing is being said by Singh Sabha movement. Second is to counter the proselytizing activities of Christian missionaries. I will give you one example to understand this thing, proselytizing or conversion activities of Christian missionary as well as Hindu revivalist. I had a very good friend when I was working in Samsung. He was a Sikh. As I've told you, I love Sikh people. So he was like, and he told me certain things. He was a proper Sikh who used to wear turbans. These days, like there are some Sikh people who don't wear turbans and everything. So he was a proper Sikh, and he told me one thing. He shouldn't have said those things, but we were so close that he used to talk everything. And he was like, Shubham, I'm very sad about one particular aspect, that these days Sikh girls, they like Hindu boys more, because maybe these Hindu boys, they don't wear turbans and all those stuff, and they look much cooler than us, God knows what. But they are getting married to Hindu boys, and this is one way by which our population will reduce. See, you may feel like, sir, what he's talking, but that thing also makes sense, bro, if you think about it. So this is conversion. Sometimes what happens, Sikh girls, they marry Hindu boys and then they adopt Hinduism, and slowly and gradually Sikh population will reduce. So this was one time when it was formed, 1873, there was conversion which was going on. Sikh people, they were getting converted to, or they were adopting Christianity or Hinduism, etc., etc. Singh Sabha movement became so popular that between 1901 to 1941, almost Sikh population doubled. And even now, if you go to like Punjab, there was one time when I was in Punjab, I also wanted to adopt Sikhism. It is such a awesome religion. But again, I love all religions, so it's fine. So again, I'm telling you, they became very popular. Their population doubled. And this is one of the major thing which Singh Sabha movement did. And not only this, one of the offshoot of Singh Sabha movement is the Akali movement, where they have Gurudwaras, and that was under the control of corrupt Mahants. These corrupt Mahants, they were run by the British, like they were following the dictums of British officials. And Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhan Committee was formed, Sikh people raised their voice, and then these corrupt Mahants were removed. So Singh Sabha movement's offshoot is Akali movement. And yeah, so Killian Murphy, very good, yeah. So again, Singh Sabha movement, I love it a lot, what they did, and whatever my Sikh friend said, that also makes a lot of sense. You think about it. And again, so Akali movement, offshoot of the Singh Sabha movement, and this Akali movement, we'll talk about it in non-cooperation movement as well, because during that period only this whole thing was going on. And corrupt Mahants were removed. Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee was established, who are looking after Gurudwaras up until now. So Akali movement, if they give you, it is an offshoot of Singh Sabha movement, you will say, yes, sir. Let's move on. So corrupt. This is what corrupt means in Pakistan. Cute, optimistic, responsible, reliable, underrated, patriotic. Because you see, okay, let's move on. Parsi reform movement. As we have talked about six minorities in India at central level. Many people wrote me in the comment section. Not central, sir. Central government, and there was a video I made regarding 3-language policy in Tamil Nadu. So I said central government said this, central government said that. The people were like, no, central government, this is union government. So please understand, when we're talking, what should I say now? At the central level, we have seen 6 minorities. And one of the most affluent minorities is Parsi community. Parsi community, oh, he's cute. Yeah, Prashant, he's very cute. He has very cute chicks. We are talking about Nawaz Sharif, sir. Yeah, let's focus, sir. So again, I am so fearful these days. Like I said, Nawaz Sharif, and people will be like, you said Nawaz Sharif, sir. Oh my God, you're a Pakistani. Go back to Pakistan. No, that's just a joke. So Parsi reform movement, Parsi people. And if you look at the demography census, you will realize out of the 6 minorities, they are one of the most influential, if not the affluent, if not the most, and most affluent. Can you tell me any very prominent Parsi whom you know or whom you have anything, any particular Parsi? I know one very famous Parsi, Boman Irani. Any other Parsi you know? Parsi people, Zoroastrianism came from Iran, mainly from Iran. Now they are no longer in Iran. Largest community in India, second largest community if I'm not wrong, it is in Pakistan. Chepandis. So Parsi again, Dadabhai Naroji, Jamshedji Tata, I think Ambani. Ambani is also Parsi. I didn't know about this, Shubham. Oh, your name is same as mine. So yes, I think Jamshedji Tata, he is also Parsi. Boman Irani is a Parsi. And there is one personality, one nationalist leader, Dadabhai Naroji, who is Yatra Tatra Sarvatra. What does it mean? Yatra Tatra Sarvatra is, he is here, there, everywhere. He became INC president, Tata is saying, like Prashant is saying Tata. Jamshedji Tata, he is also Parsi. What I'm trying to tell you is, and all these names which you see, this furniture wala or this wala, all these people whose name ends with furniture wala and all, they are also Parsis. And that furniture wala shows their business and their occupation as well. Oh, let's focus, bros. What we are discussing here is, I was saying something, yes, one of the most influential Parsis during this national movement was Dadabhai Naroji. He became Congress president thrice, bros. Not once, not twice, thrice. 1886, 1893, 1906. He will establish a journal called Rast Guftar. He is also one of the founding members of this Rehnumai Mazd-e Asnan Sabha, which is about improving the condition of Parsis. Now they are one of the most affluent communities. Not only this, he even went to British House of Commons, if I'm not wrong, and became one of the earliest Indians who was a member of British House of Commons. Oh my God. And this is not it. We'll talk about him. You will see him here, there, everywhere. Dada Bhai Naruji. So he is here also. Rahnumai Mazd-e-Ashnan Sabha reform movement, and he played a crucial role here. He's one of the founding members of Rahnumai Mazd-e-Ashnan Sabha, and that's why there is a question mark here. Question mark means Naroji, Purdonji, SS Bengali, they are not the only founders of Rahnumai Mazd-e-Ashnan Sabha. Other people are also involved. Very good. And newspaper Ras Guftar, it was started by Dada Bhai Naroji. Who else? And again, you can read all this. Naroji published a monthly journal, Jagat Mitra. He became president of Congress 3 times. He wrote a book which exposed British drain of wealth. What was the name of that book? Poverty and un-British rule in India. So again, that guy did a lot of stuff. Respect to that, sir. So again, you can read all these things. Just remember Rahnumai Mazd-e-Ashnan Sabha. When was it formed? 1850s. Who are the founders? Associated with which particular minority? All these things are important. Ras Gufta started by whom? Dada Bhai Naroji. We'll talk about him later on also. Grand old man of India. Let's solve some question, bros. This is a PYQ in front of you. Cyrus Brocha, nice. His principal forte was social and religious reform. He relied upon legislation to do away with social ills and work increasingly or unceasingly for the eradication of child marriage and parda system. To encourage consideration of social problems on a national scale, he inaugurated the Indian National Social Conference, which for many years met for its annual session alongside the Indian National Congress. The reference in this passage is to A. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, B. Behramji Merwanji Malabari, C. Mahadev Govind Ranade, and D. B.R. Ambedkar. B.M. Malabari, he established something known as Seva Sadan, which was for emancipation of women. So, sir and ma'am, the answer is, this was the giveaway. He inaugurated the Indian National Social Conference, and the answer is Mahadev Govind Ranade, as stated by Dark and Kritika. Very good, Dark. Terms Janmi and Kanamdar are related to A. Agriculture, B. Spice, C. Traders, D. None of the above. We have talked about these terms when we are talking about one Muslim reform movement, Farezi movement, and then I told you about Mopla rebellion or Mapilla rebellion. We'll talk about these rebellions later on also. So what are these terms associated with Janmi and Kanamdar? Very good, Shubham. It feels so odd to say my own name. As Anju stated, Dark also stated, Janmi and Kanamdar, they are related to agriculture. We have seen they are associated with the people, like who is at the top of the hierarchy of this whole land structure. So A is the answer. Agriculture, sir and ma'am. Which of the following was a feature of Wahhabi movement? A. It aimed at religious and social reforms among Hindus. B. It sought to purify Islam and remove foreign influences. C. It supported Western model of education. D. It was initiated by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. M.G. Ranade is Guru of Gokhale. Oh my God. Gokhale sir is Guru of Gandhi ji and Gokhale sir Guru is M.G. Ranade, as said by Satish. Do cross check it, everyone. Nice, bro. So yes, sir. Which of the following was a feature of Wahhabi movement? Okay, so as Dark stated, it's not about reform among Hindus, it's a Muslim reform movement. It did not support Western model of education because it is a revivalist movement. It is not associated with Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. It sought to purify Islam and remove foreign influences, as stated by Dark, Kritika and Anju. Which of the following statement regarding the Aligarh movement is correct? It was started by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Second, it aimed to promote modern education among Muslims. Third, it was associated with the establishment of Jamia Millia Islamia. Select the correct answer. A, 1 and 2 only, B, 2 and 3 only, C, 1 and 3 only, D, 1, 2 and 3. Very good, Satish. Oh, Satish has Mickey Mouse. Is it Mickey Mouse? Okay, So, Aligarh movement, yes, it was started by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. So, first is correct. It aimed to promote modern education. That is also correct because this is a reformist movement. So, you are left with A and D. It was associated with establishment of Jamia Millia Islamia. No, sir, it is associated with establishment of Aligarh Muslim University, not Jamia Millia Islamia. They are not the same. Don't confuse Jamia Millia Islamia with Aligarh Muslim University. This is a work for you. Try to find out, like read about both of them, Aligarh Muslim University and Jamia Millia Islamia, and what is the difference between them. So the answer is A, 1 and 2 only. Very good. So that's it from me, sir and ma'am, and I will upload this PDF by tomorrow morning at this particular Telegram channel, Fun Study with Shubh, and that's it from me. Our March morning batch is starting from 24th March, and do join it. I will see you there as well, and you will see more of me there because the class is like, if I take the class, it will be from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So you'll be seeing me for 3 hours. Maybe it will be okay. So yes, sir, you can join it. You can use my code SHS Live to get maximum discounts. And that's it from me. If you have any doubt, you can ask queries. B, how come B, bros? This was the question, right? So third statement is wrong. If third is wrong, A, 1 and 2 is the answer, right? Okay. So any queries, any doubts? Otherwise, I'll be Goa gone. Okay then, I am doing Goa gone. Thank you.